Love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Check this.
Welcome to the DL debate. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, live on Highland Radio or back by the podcast. We're beaming from Highland Motors here in the mountain top. Lawrence Harrigan's looking after us. Lawrence, how are you? Big deals going on the cars here. They're flying out. No better man called but see Lawrence will look after you. Of course, Highland Motors sponsor all the live broadcasts of GA here at Highland Radio, and of course myself, Oisin and Martin McHugh will be bringing all the action from the big game on Sunday at Croke Park. I want to thank Joe Dex for their Power Hour Plus there, and of course Katie was on the news. Our head of sport, Oisin Kelly's here producing us as ever. My wingman Pauric Hilferty is in the house. Pauric,
how you doing, Brandy?
Looking good in the shorts, kid.
Well, it's kind of the wrong memo to get, you know.
Did you know it? We've got cameras from UTV and everything.
good to see them. To be takes up your makeup.
You'll be on the news now.
Takes up your makeup a bit better or something. Yeah.
Dan's here doing a bit of filming as well. Good man, Dan. Always a great lad to see around the matches. Coming up later in the show, we're going to speak with Neil Loughran of the Irish News. We'll be discussing another small wee semi-final that nobody cares about. It's the Armagh Kerry one. Of course, being a Down man, you'll probably have to mention Down in the Tailteann Cup. In studio here with myself and Pauric, I also have the powerhouse himself, John Gildea, a regular to the show. John, you keeping well?
So far, so good, Brent.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having
me. You
avoided
the shorts tonight. You got the memo?
I got the memo. Plus, my legs are not quite as good as they used to be.
I've seen you in the Mount Errigal gym. He's going well, this man. I wouldn't want to run into him.
He's got good calves.
Yeah. Well, it's the age in football. Hope that somebody's going to get badly injured. McGuinness might need you for a good 5 minutes towards the end of the game. But
there you go. Not Martin Regan. I thought Regan would be as far as you push at McGuinness.
We live in hope. Dream big. That's the motto for Donegal in 2024 is dream big.
Oh, massive. We're also, I'm delighted to say, joined by Galway legend, All-Ireland winner, Fallon. Are you coming through there?
I am, brilliant. I can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, I'd like to start with you, of course, in the news of John O'Mahony's sad passing, very young, 71. What a life he had, packed in, a teacher, a coach. He was in the politics, TD, senator, of course, 8 Connacht titles with 3 different teams, Leitrim, Mayo and Galway, but of course most fondly known around the country for the amazing All-Ireland victories of 98 and 2001. Your memories of John at this sad time?
It was shocking news. It's only yesterday morning at 9:30. Sean Oak texted the group and it was opened up then, I suppose, but it was sad. The poor man, he suffered the last while. He was on a lot of treatment and stuff, so it was very sad to hear his passing. We were always hoping that he'd overcome it, but unfortunately it wasn't to be.
Yeah, and do you know what? Recently I was at a fundraiser in Armagh, and there's a load of players there, Tyrone lads and Armagh lads, and in stepped John O'Mahony, and I was like, wow, because meeting someone like him at any time, it's such an honour to meet him. Of course, you know all about my Galway connections. If Donegal were going to win it, we're always rooting for you guys, and he's actually, his daughter was married to Pauric McKeever Sports, so he was setting up the day. So John was on one of the panels, and I knew from him, and unfortunately my dad had been sick recently, you could tell that he was obviously going through a battle, one that he wasn't going to win. But listen, a huge, at least back, just a huge footballing story. Looking back at the amazing triumphs of probably Leitrim was the biggest ones, in terms of coming through Connacht. And then, he obviously was a huge thing he would have loved to do was took Mayo all the way, but he did it twice with Galway and the group and the players that he had. It was such an amazing time for Galway and for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I look back at it, and I remember talking to John about this, about Leitrim, and I know it was brilliant that they won the Connacht Championship in '94. But I remember having a chat with John about that. He felt that they should have got to the final. They didn't really do this as justice against Dublin in that semi-final. He had it in his head, because in fairness, they were a very strong bunch of players. Declan Darcy, Mickey Quinn and Seamus Quinn, they were a very good team. They turned those over twice in the early 90s. So but he just, in fairness, John, he was such a personal fella. He got the best out of people. Right? Apart from being ahead of his time as a coach and the time he put into it, when I look back to it, in our time, he'd make Byrne the physio from the soccer after Harte coming off the World Cup and getting involved in '98. He'd Tommy O'Gorman, who passed her, all these guys, and Eddie O'Sullivan also was involved. So he put a star-studded management team together when he came to Galway. And, he can only both respond to a setup like that more than what Jimmy has there. He just has them singing for you, and the crest of a wave, and momentum was key, and John was brilliant at that. So he's sadly missed.
Yeah, so there was Pauric. I mean, 8 Connacht championships. It seems like when you think about your career of being around teams and that, to take teams the way he did, and then the way this Galway team came with such a buzz in '98, and of course, to the fore of that. I mean, what a performance in the final, and so fondly remembered. But such a big loss to the sport.
Huge. We only met up there last year, 25 in Pauric. It's hard to believe it's that long. But and he was like the texts were going before that he was going to be around. He said, he got the treatment broke first when he had it. I'll see you all on a certain date in 2023, and rooting. But unfortunately, he won't be there for the next one. He'll be there in spirit, there's no doubt. Yeah. But it was a lovely weekend in Dublin to meet up, and I suppose it's very sad.
Yeah, sad stuff, Pauric. Yeah.
Very sad for his family and for everyone down in Galway as well. But I suppose the aspect of being a manager, Brendan, is one thing about leading teams like he did, but taking Leitrim probably to where he took them was a huge feat alone.
I think there was 300 men apparently playing Gaelic in Leitrim at the time.
And that's phenomenal. When you look at that and you look at the way he's developed that Leitrim side during that time, to actually believe they could win a Connacht title and nearly get them there, and things like that. But suppose from winning All Irelands as well, and eight Connacht titles, when Connacht titles they're tough to win. They are tough to win, they're like Ulster, but to do that consistently, huge feat for.
Yeah, massive. And Donegal almost met them in '98. With that late Brawley goal, we could have been. There could have been a pathway there. Football was a bit more innocent then in Jono's time, in terms of getting teams ready and right. But that success. I mean, after that huge gap for a Connacht team to come through and win it, it was real groundbreaking stuff from him.
Yeah, no. As Ja pointed out, he was a real innovator of his time. He was one of the great managers
he created the belief.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we had the Mick O'Dwyers, the big characters, and then he was that next wave of new manager that was coming through with new ideas, new concepts. Galway at that time were the glamour side of the country. They played an unbelievable style of football, of which Ja was pivotal in, very fast pace. And I suppose it might have been more innocent up here than down there, because he did bring a level of professionalism and organisation that the northern teams then followed suit with. You had Armagh and Tyrone then became very professional, and I would suggest that John O'Mahony was probably the start of that evolution. And just like Jim now is seen as the messiah to a certain point of view, with new ideas, new concepts, new style, O'Mahony was very much in that ilk as well. He was groundbreaking, he was innovative, and he had huge success across the board. And not even from a Connacht and All Ireland perspective, but he was hugely successful within club management all around the country as well. And I was listening to various reports today, and I was fortunate enough to meet him once or twice in different circumstances, but everybody had something good to say about the man, even from a political point of view, and he moved into politics. Everything he did well, he did with 100%, and he brought everybody with him, and it's a huge legacy to leave when you have people like Jan, people all over the country eulogising about the man, and he's left a great impact on GAA people and non-GAA people alike.
Yeah, condolences to the O'Mahony family, of course. One of his lieutenants from that time, no more than yourself, was Pauric Joyce. Are you thinking that he learned a lot from John? Do you see anything similar in styles or the way he approaches the game that I suppose were a sum of many parts? But I'm sure John O'Mahony has had a huge influence on this Pauric Joyce era at Galway as well.
Yeah, there'll be totally different styles, I'd say, as personalities, but I would say he would definitely, that personal touch which PJ would bring more than John had, where he just gets that bit more out of you, that he shows a huge interest in you as a person and individual. So, yeah, I'm sure he has picked up his own things. That's the only thing I would take from PJ and chatting to him. That's where Jono was very special. He just had a way of, I go back a couple of years before that in the county board. They were locked out of the dressing room. They weren't allowed to come in with previous managers. There was just a disconnect there. And when Jono came in, everyone was a part of it. Everyone, even girlfriends, anyone, wives, county board, everyone played a role, and he was just that glue and gel, and it's all down to his communications and his likability, and that's you don't win anything unless you have that unity, and he brought that in abundance, and people just bought in then, and then I suppose Galway would be fickle enough supporters. They're not like Donegal, who, in fairness, are great supporters wherever you go, because it's a dual county, and I remember when you're going back to the Leitrim games, we were down and played Leitrim in 93 and 94, and we robbed them in 95, absolutely. And there'd be 200 people from Galway in the championship game. It's just, that's how low it was at that stage. And John came in shortly after that when we beat them in 95. I'm not sure they did in 96 with Leitrim, but he came into us in the winter of 97, and it just took off from there, I suppose. He had his ideas, what he wanted to do, and thank God it ended the way it did. So, for all of us, like we're indebted to him because, when I look back on others, he got me back from Donegal, he got Kevin Welch, who was going to retire, and, it was all little Tomas Mannion, had a bad back and farming, and he was able to just pull all the guys in and, gel us together as a team, and, the rest is history, I suppose.
Yeah, good history it was. John, see, before we get into Donegal and Galway a bit more here, we have to mention Mickey Harte. The saga, the Harte saga. Listen, people talk about, have you ever seen as much? I suppose I was just chatting to Dan there about column inches and the amount of rumours, and it's been an absolutely crazy year from a Derry supporters' perspective, particularly after the trajectory of since they went to Division 4. It's been up, and everything was improvement. And last year, knocking the door of semi, back-to-back Ulsters, and then this year, the House of Cards. Now, they did kind of steady the ship again, John, but again, they're back to defensive ship. They went too far the other way then, averaging 11 points a game the last 3 games. They've sorted their defence out, but they kind of dropped out of the championship then, as we thought they might. Now, they did, as they get their act together, but were you surprised then that Mickey maybe didn't stay on, or did you think the writing was on the wall?
I suppose it's very easy looking back in hindsight. It's like watching a really bad Hollywood movie where 2 people get married and you're sitting at the wedding going, this not going to work out really well. It had that feel from a very early stage. It was all or nothing. Like, it was a huge step for a Tyrone man to go into Derry. Any Tyrone man to go into Derry, let alone Mickey Harte, with all the baggage and all the history and everything else. And as you well know, there's no love lost with anybody up here, but particularly between Tyrone and Derry down through the years. And Derry is an amazing county when things are going very, very well, but we all know that there's a lot of politics in Derry as well. Just, I suppose, like every county, and Ja alluded to, Galway not going well back, 15, 20 years ago and only having 200 supporters. Derry are like that as well to a certain extent, and they had this complete, stratospheric trajectory where they came from nowhere and they were the dominant team in the country. And then I think when Mickey came in, he was under huge pressure to deliver, and I think that compounded everything, because I think then they were driven too hard. If you look at the Glen boys, they had gone to 2 All-Ireland finals, they played through the league and everything else, and the week after they played the All-Ireland final, they were back playing McKenna Cup, and it all caught up with them. And then when the wheels came off the wagon, as you well know, there's plenty of people that are both nationally focused and Derry focused, just waiting in the background to drive the knife. Yeah. And that's ultimately what happened. And the wheels fell off the wagon. Donegal were a big part of that, because that shocked everybody. And nobody could see it coming apart from Jim and the team. And like we talked about it here at the time, we didn't see it coming. We were hoping that we would stay in the game, etc. So him walking away, I think it's a case he walked away before he was pushed. There was so much pressure coming on from the Derry players, old, even past generation players. You had Brawley chipping away constantly. There was just too much bad blood. There was a complete underperformance, and I think he did the right thing for himself and from Derry to walk away, because it was never going to work out.
Yeah. John just mentioned there, obviously, John O'Mahony coming from Mayo into Galway. It raised a few eyebrows at the time, but he won them over. Pauric, Mickey Harte was never going to win there, unless he won All Ireland, which, no, they've won one in their history. What's the chances? You know, it was such a long shot in terms of looking at it now. You're thinking, how is this going to work unless something absolutely magical happens? And even then, you're just about winning it. Like, it seemed like such mission impossible.
But Brendan, was that performance that raised the eyebrows from the Donegal point of view? They went out then, they played Galway, bit of a performance there, came back against Armagh, was really the icing on the cake. Went back to that, that style of football that we're doing. And for me, suppose that was, you did it once. Do you do it? Do you do it again, or do you decide to yourself, well, as a manager here, I'm going to change this up to maybe not get on the wrong side of these goal opportunities that are happening? And I think a lot of people questioned them then after that, and suppose as John alluded to, it's very, very hard to win over the Derry supporters as well. But when you've got external noises and you've got that Tyrone Derry factor as well, look. For me, Mickey Harte, phenomenal manager, but just didn't work out for him this time.
Yeah. Listen, remains to be seen where he goes from here, Pauric. Be interesting. This Galway team, tell me, which team are we going to see at the weekend? Because obviously tons of injuries in the league, but you did enough to stay up. And then we've seen such up and down form, and I even think to say the recent games of Mayo and Monaghan, Mayo had that game won. Fair enough, he's conjured up, but I think they had a lot to do with that in terms of kind of giving it away. And Monaghan game then, I think back to the McBennett strike off the bar with about 10 to go. And no one then was thinking, right, where's Galway going? Injuries, and they're limping along. And then you produce that unbelievable game against Dublin, which must have just infused the whole county again, getting us back into 2022 form.
I kind of disagree with you, to be honest.
Good, that's what the show's about, a bit of debate, man. I like it.
Yeah, because, it's all about getting over hurdles and you grow into a championship. And I think Galway are hitting the ground running from now on, and that's a huge injection. We always know they're capable of turning up Dublin. To be honest, I know a lot of guys more than that have a few pounds and go against Dublin. Just if they got it right, you knew they could take them, because they have an abundance of talent. They have, then it could be undermined. They need to tighten up the defence. Defence is very strong. And they've learned along the way, and they've made a couple of changes, and they will take a bit of beating, lads. I genuinely say that now. That will be a different Galway team again in Croke Park. That game against Dublin will absolutely bring them on hugely, and they're going to be very hard beat.
Yes, you're looking at likes of in the league, Fitzgerald and likes of Darcy, John Maher. Finnerty had really upped his game as well, because obviously Comer and Walsh, and there was a lot of injuries out there, McDaid. So is it something that the league, I suppose, helped maybe get, a bit more resilience into the other players? And now the lads, I know they're not completely all fit, but if they're all on the pitch, there's a real strong team blossoming there. Yeah,
well, I suppose when you look back at the league, it was going to be a long shot with so many injuries. It's kind of unheard of that. PJ Hadden said that we got them all right, and the time for the championship we could have an assault to this. And it nearly, to be honest, we were unbeaten in the championship, which is a big plus. We only led against Sligo, and it was at it down the Martinez Park, and it was only for Damien Comer came on, a huge difference. We were out of sorts, but we came through. Do you know what I mean? And we all go back to our careers and games that you came through and you shouldn't have came through, and you ended up winning it. And there's a lot of football to be played yet, but what's happening going now is the players are on the field. We're not, no more than 3 years ago, we're not heavily relying on as much on Shane and Damien. As for they're all chipping in. We have guys come off the line as well. They all did. Tomo did very well there. Johnny Heenan, who probably sticks the claim, he should be starting in his own eyes, and rightly so. John Daly, big call that between injury and loss of form he's held in reserve as well. And he's an All-Star a couple of years ago. So I just think PJ is just getting it right at the right time. I really do. More than Jim, who has absolutely a wonderful year and has turned the whole thing around. But I genuinely think we're a little bit ahead of him. Just for all the experience.
That's fine,
And
talk, John.
Jimmy Comer will be a different animal next to that. He's
Oh,
not
yeah,
your typical,
and
and he'll be chomping on the bit.
Comer chomping on the
improve
bit, John. That's a dangerous prospect for anybody. What do you think about Jazz saying there? We've come through a few games, John, where we've lucked out of sorts and looked like we could lose them, but we've won them. Is that what you think? This is the right time for Galway? A few so-so performances, but coming good at the right time. Is that the way to come into this game?
Listen, they're in the semi-final, just like Donegal. I'll take it that Galway are going to come in very confident. I suppose they're further along on their journey than this Donegal team would be at this point in time. And we said it a couple of weeks ago. Like, we're ahead of schedule. If you were looking at this from a very practical point of view, if you had told Donegal supporters 9 months ago that we would be Ulster champions, we'd be sitting in an All-Ireland semi-final, nobody would believe you. So I take Jazz's point in the sense that Galway have been down this road before. They have some exceptional players. I believe Shane Walsh is the best player in the country by a long shot. People talk about Clifford and everything else, but Walsh is spectacular. He's still a huge player for them. And
but that was his first real good game, John.
He comes alive in Croke Park.
Right.
He did the same in the All-Ireland final. He comes alive in Croke Park. He's built for he's a phenomenal player. If you look at Kelly McDade, Paul Connery, they have power, pace all over the pitch. So I can understand why Ja and the people in Galway are confident. And it's not just Ja. At least anybody thinking that he's doing something crazy down there. This is the story coming from Galway and friends and family down there that are saying exactly the same thing. They're very confident. They're looking forward to it, and they feel that Donegal is maybe a one-trick pony. We're very counter-attack orientated. We get an awful lot of impetus from our half-back line. That will probably play into Galway's hands because they sit in this low block. They're defensive and then they break. So all perfectly set up for Jim to do what Jim does. So that's the big...
Shut it down.
For all intents and purposes, Galway are going to go into this as favourites, and rightly so. But at the end of the day, every hurdle that has come in front of Donegal this year, Jim has found a way. He has intimate knowledge of Galway because he was, and floating around them there for a couple of seasons. That's a little advantage. Galway have been favourites, pressure. This is a very much a Jekyll and Hyde Galway side, and they've come through games unspectacularly and unimpressively in lots of ways. Now, the other side of that is they've won them. They've managed to find a way, which is very important. A team not playing well, finding a way to win is very, very difficult to put away. But again, if Galway are not firing on all cylinders, they showed against Armagh, they switched off and Armagh nearly had them. They've showed in games where they can switch off, things can go against them. If things go against them on Sunday, will Jim allow them and the Donegal team allow them to come back into it? I wouldn't think so. For me, it's very much a 50-50. I think this is Donegal's most difficult game this year by a long way. I think Galway put obstacles in the way that other teams haven't so far, in the sense that they have a huge amount of talent going forward. They're a big, strong, physical, athletic team. They have a very solid defensive structure that apart from Armagh, we haven't come up against this year. So from my point of view, it's going to be very interesting to see how Jim figures out a way, if he can and if the team can, of dismantling this Galway defence while shutting it back down on the other side of the equation. Because if we give Galway the kind of space that we give Louth, then Shane Walsh, Comer, Finnerty, McDade, these guys are going to have a field day. So for me, it's a very much a 50-50, hard to call. As a Donegal man, you're going into this going, we'll find a way, but it's a toss of a coin.
John, would you agree with that?
I totally agree with John, to be honest.
Yeah.
Really, when you go through, there are two really footballing counties. Like, when you look at talent, if you put them up against each other, like, they're equally as good. Like, Ryan is back to himself, Adam Morgan, and is flying, is absolutely flying. And O'Sheen is he's a scoring machine, So when you go through, and your midfield is equally as good as what's Galway, I think it will be a toss of coin, and the pros and cons. But and you have the Jimmy factor too, who's able to win games, So it's set up to be an absolute cracker, Really.
I thought you were going to give us a wee song there for a second, John. John, what about the midfield? Donegal struggled a small bit at midfield the last day with kick-outs. Was that something you think? Big Jason McGee, there's question marks if he'd be in. Probably Maher, Conroy at midfield views. Do you think that's something where that extra...
What you say?
Just at midfield against Louth, we did struggle with a few restarts. Do you think that's something Galway put a big squeeze on Patton and try and get, Conroy Maher and, just that height?
But yes, you notice that they're not pressing every kick out. It's very calculated. There's a lot of times when there's freeze, they'll push up, and then when there's no possible chance of pushing up and down. So it swings and roundabouts. So they'll have to read that, I suppose. I presume both teams will have the license that when to push up and when not, and at the right time to get a score and stuff like that. There's a lot of big men and a lot of good footballers on the middle, it's a toss-up. How the ball breaks, who knows? And, it'll come down to that along the middle at times. But sometimes the midfield can be bypassed if you get your kick out. McGrath
pick up Gallen, Glenn pick up McBurdy and try and take McBurdy up the pitch. I can see that happen. What about the likes of a Heaney maybe coming in to pick up Mogan after his performance the last day? Do you see something like that happening?
I doubt. I'd say PJ will stick with what he has. In fairness, there's still, Johnny is. He's experienced enough now to be able to come off the bench and not be hurting, not starting and make an impact like he did the last day. He's a good, he's a brilliant player, Johnny, and always a great return. You were surprised, your eyes raised when he wasn't starting, but you can see now in the overall picture, we have impact coming off the bench. Matty Tierney is a big guy, 6'5", but he's like a stallion. He's up and down Croke Park, so. They might expose him on the kick out using him. He's 6'5", try and isolate guys there. A lot of big men. So it'd be very tactical that way. I suppose they're going to have to try and curtail, Padder, because I thought he get 6 points in play the last day, and he's chipping away every day with points. And Ryan has, he gets 2 or 3 points, there's no word of him. And he's having a great year, in fairness, also. So, yeah, it'll be all getting the matchups right on the day, and it could go to penalties, huh? you just don't hear that.
Yes, yeah. We'll cover all angles. We'll be before it. Pauric goals won games, as we know. Hey, Galway's not conceding any. We only conceded against Cork in championship time, and that's a phenomenal record. And you think even that goal they did concede, it was a bad kick out by Gleeson, and so. Always shut tight at the back, and even Donegal.
They have. There's no doubt, and it probably came down to it. Sorry for Conor because he's having a great game. Because when I went, was at the Armagh match, we had Armagh put away in the second half. There were 5 points. There were out ideas, and we just gave them a lifeline by a poor kick out. It shows you it just gave them energy, and they came back into it and level match. And there was a sucker punch for Galway, and you didn't know what type of team would respond. They didn't win get into the quarterfinal outright, but they responded to win and turn over Dublin. Is because being at the game, Dublin, in fairness, they're so sporting, but on the field they're intimidating. They get stuck on you, and we big boys. Killy McDade on the day was brilliant. And McCurran at the back, big call dropping John Daly or injury, one or the other, but he's tightened up the whole thing. He's a real man marker, so. Galway won't give scores cheap each other in Galway, and they can't afford it because the Oisin and Dees and Paddy come in and start, they know they have the boots on them, in fairness to them. So, yeah, it's teed up to be a cracker, in fairness, and hopefully we get it.
Yeah. Can you see Patton's been very good at his one-on-ones as well as stops?
One-on-ones, no, definitely. I think Donegal will tighten it up again, as John alluded to.
Kern to start for you.
It could
Kern will start
could potentially,
with McCall, I think.
Potentially. Look, that Galway forward line, they're serious, but
McColgan's there too.
But even looking, Brendan, I suppose from a Donegal point of view, you've got runners from all angles, and if you're going to pickpocket of a defence, who are you going to stop? You've Patter coming, you've Ryan coming. We've seen Owen Band pop up, get in for a goal as well. So is there going to be a goal on Sunday? It's going to be a huge score whoever gets it now. So. I'd be hoping Donegal can create those opportunities as well, but Jim's only man can answer that, how he's going to set up those.
Yeah, is the Jason McGee thing, is it vital, John, that he plays in a game like this? And I know he's got the type of injury where he's going to be putting his body in the line to play, so he's obviously been missing training a lot and that, it's Croke Park, it's a big game. Is that a risk in itself? Kieran Moore played really well the last day, but if you're able to have the two of them in the team, Alami Langan and Moore breaking from deep, that'd probably be the best scenario for Donegal.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee he'll start, but he would be a great man to come in with 20, 25 minutes to go. As Ja was saying, that Galway have impact subs coming in. Our subs coming in off the bench have had an impact all the way throughout the championship. Oran Doherty, Jack McKelvey, etc. So having Jason coming in at a crucial stage would be a big impact from a Donegal point of view, just from the crowd's point of view as well. Listen, something's going to happen on Sunday, out of the norm. Like, there's no way that McGuinness is going into an All-Ireland semi-final without something up his sleeve. Like, we all remember the infamous 2011 when Donegal were playing the way, and then we decided we would get 4 more buses and park them as well. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but he's very orchestrated and organised, and in his head, this is where they were, and there's something coming. I don't know what it is, because the way we've played so far, I don't think will suit Galway. Galway will play with their low block, their defensive. Pauric was saying that we have runners coming from all angles. That's all great when you have space. Galway don't give space in their defence, and they're big physical men. They can turn ball over. They take impact, and they take contact on a regular basis, and then they turn you. And then the other side of the equation, if Galway break fast, like Shane Walsh, these guys, they can turn defence into attack in a split second. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how both teams set up. Again, Galway had great joy against Dublin when they pressed the kick out. They only really came into the game when they went after the kickouts in that third quarter, the moving quarter per se. So there's so many different angles in this that it's going to be difficult to figure out exactly what's going to happen until we're halfway through the game, and then it'll change again, flipping its head in the second half. Big impact in this game, I believe, will be the referee. I've seen him twice this year. I'm not a huge fan. He's very fussy. May suit us this time round, because I think what Galway will do is Galway probably have more physicality around the pitch than maybe Donegal do at this point in time, and will try to be much more aggressive on their press and bringing that aggression into the game and try to ruffle feathers. So from that perspective, it may suit us. But again, this is a game, you go back to all the cliches and adages, a bounce of the ball game, you just, All-Ireland semi-finals throw up all sorts of anomalies. You never know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of it. But from our perspective, and I'm sure it's the same from Galway perspective, isn't it great to be having conversations about it and us being in the mix? And that's the big thing from a Donegal point of view.
Yeah, and we're in the mix, Ja. Listen, we're almost read up with the talk here. Ja, just on the points John was saying there, is there a thing from the Galway perspective that Jim has this bit of mystique and this tactic, and he'll have the boys drilled a certain way? I know him and Pauric are friends from their Tralee days and that, but is there that thing where there's a wee bit of a thing with Donegal because of Jim that they're going to bring something a bit different? Or do you think that here, even if they do, you've a feeling that Galway's going to have the ingredients to unlock the doors and come out on top eventually?
I'm sure there is. I think it's probably in the back of some guys' heads, but I said that's one thing PG will be drilling. It's about focusing on their own game. You know what I mean? That's nothing else enters their head rather than the gym factor, because it has worked. You know what I mean? Like he's dismantled Derry in the first round, and no one saw it coming the way it was. And okay, I suppose Jimmy identified that they push up high for the kick out, but it just worked. The PG thing, maybe, but I don't know. I don't. I think PG is a very strong character, and he's been there, and the guys no more than Jim will believe him, or they'll just buy in that sense. So I don't know if it will have as much effect that it had in Ulster as such in the semi-finals. So time will tell,
Time will tell, indeed, and time's catching up with us now. Fallon of the famous Tube Stars and All-Ireland winner, thanks so much for joining us this evening. And listen, if you do beat us, we'll wish you all the best in the final, but we know that's not going to happen.
Best of luck, boys.
Top man, Ja, there. Brilliant, Fallon. Thanks so much. What a player he was, John.
On our Rolls Royce of a player.
His sideline kick. He doesn't like you talking about it. I'm glad he's away because he's such a humble guy. But I mean, you don't see sideline kicks had too often at Croke Park.
Not at all.
On All-Ireland final day.
And the other thing was he was an animal on the field.
Like the rugby helped him.
He would perfectly fit into the modern era.
Yeah.
Like, he was ahead of his time, because the guy was a big physical man that could take hits, And then the other side of the equation is he could run up and down the field all day, which was the worst of all worlds for somebody like me.
I remember actually, but one of the Ireland squads we were doing pull-ups, and I could do about 7 or 8 proper ones. He did about 35. I was like, this guy's an absolute animal, you know. But I'd say one-armed or two-armed. Listen, we're going to come back after this break. We're going to talk a wee bit of the other semi and everything else that's happening in the world of football with Neil Loughran, and of course Lawrence is going to make us. He's a look at Kimberly McAdams here, is he, for the wee break? Pauric's going to stay on here. We'll speak to you after this.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
For all your pharmacy needs, we'll be delighted to serve you at the new Brennan's Pharmacy in Letterkenny, now open at the Forte Retail Park across from the new Dunn Stores and Costa. Easy to get to with easy free parking. We're here for all your prescription needs, medicines and pharmacist advice, with an extensive range of skincare, vitamins, supplements, gifts and much more. Brennan's Pharmacy Letterkenny is open from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday. So for all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, with easy free parking, drop into the new Brennan's Pharmacy Letterkenny. Call us on 074 970 8060. We're here for you.
Looking for that delicious home-cooked taste without the hassle? With lots of amazing new recipes, the Meals to Go range at Dunn Stores is the perfect solution for busy days. Choose from a wide range of meals, from our Cajun pulled beef and rice bowl to our sweet mango chicken, our rich mac and cheese and many more. Made with care using quality ingredients, you can now get 2 meals for just €8.50. Discover new Meals to Go in-store and online today. Dunn Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up community.
At Vodafone, we've just been awarded Ireland's best mobile network for the 9th year in a row. It's because we're committed 24/7 to making it the best network for you, so you can rely on Vodafone for the important things, you know? Like Sunday video calls with your best friend, staying in touch with the things that really matter in the family group text, or watching a 24/7 live stream of penguins at the San Diego Zoo. Go on, you know you want to. Vodafone. Together we can. Certified by Umlaut. See Vodafone.ie for terms.
It's just dropped. Something so brilliant. You can't ignore it. Ireland's brightest energy offer. A saving of up to €791 off dual fuel. And all you have to do is switch. Visit electricireland.ie and start saving. Electric Ireland, making your world brighter. EAB €2,562 dual fuel discount including online billing and direct debit. Savings compared to our 24-hour standard variable tariff EAB 12-month contract. T's and C's apply. See electricireland.ie.
Bus Éireann is looking for professional driving contractors with coaches, minibuses and taxis to join Ireland's school transport scheme. So be a pillar of your community, help steer our children to a brighter future and start your day with happy smiling faces. Sign up at buseireann.ie/contractors. Bus Éireann operates the school transport scheme on behalf of the Department of Education.
And Sean has just arrived into the bar for a quick hello to the work crowd. He won't stop, he has a match in the morning. But wait, he's got the nod off the barman that there's Guinness 0-0 on tap. The chats are back on. Johnny's in full swing and a fresh pint is handed over the bar. Guinness 0-0, 100% Guinness, 0% alcohol. Proud partner of the GAA.
Visit drinkaware.ie.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, folks, welcome back to the DL debate here, live from Highland Motors in the mountain top, the lovely surrounding of Highland Motors, of course, sponsors of all our GA Live broadcasts, of course, and they'll be looking after us as ever as we head to Croke Park at the weekend. Another team that's had success after a tough season, Pauric, is Donegal ladies come out in that relegation qualifier. Vitally important after all the work that we did to make sure we're in the seniors for next season.
We spoke to Niamh McLaughlin last week, wasn't it, Brennan? And suppose that was something, the focus had to change very, very quickly back to retaining that senior status. Delighted the girls did do that. 8 points to 9. A bit of a tough battle against Kildare, but, you know, at the break they were a point down. John got them, you know, re-energised. Suzanne White kicking 4 points. So, you know, I think from the year...
She's a great season.
Fantastic season. And suppose like when you look at where Armagh's going, it just shows you how close our girls actually are. You know, of course, I suppose it was going to be a big upset by beating them in the Ulster final. But look, Kerry came to town. We got a draw there. We went away, and I suppose a tough defeat on the road as well. But look, they got the ship back going again for this particular game. And you know yourself, those types of games, Brennan, they're difficult to get players up for towards the end of the year, but keeping that senior status for me is very, very important for the Donegal ladies.
Yeah, huge. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Irish News GA encyclopedia of knowledge. I can only call him Neil Loughran. Neil, you're welcome.
How are you?
Neil,
you keeping well?
Neil, I give an intro. It says we're going to talk a wee bit about the other small matter of the semi-final of the Orchard men and the Kingdom. Of course, this is, you might have to mention the Down guys as well, getting ready for the Talchin final. I sent you a wee message there about Ulster domination there at schools and underage. Of course, we have to mention Derry minors or 17s or whatever they are. They keep changing it on us, but there's been a lot of stuff, a lot of silverware coming Ulster way, and hopefully that continues.
Well, here, who knows what way things will sit at the end of this weekend. I mean, you could have potentially 2 Ulster teams in All Ireland final, and Down, fingers crossed, back in the All Ireland Championship for next year with the Talchin Cup. It would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Given the year that it has been. Like that list you sent me earlier on of silverware, when you look down through it, between from Waddy Graham's to Arva and everybody else in between, like it's unreal. Like, so. We'll see where we stand on Sunday night. Like we'll have a better idea just if we're going to start shouting from the rooftops by then.
Yeah. What's your feeling, Neil, on Armagh? A lot of teams have been up and down, and then you would say, well, sure, Kerry haven't shot the lights out, but they've done what they've needed to do, and they look like they're not going to be outplayed at any kind of tactical game. They showed that against Derry last day out. So is it a difficult conundrum for Armagh in terms of how they try and take on what is a very talented Kerry squad?
It is. I mean, I still am probably one of those people who remains to be convinced by Armagh. I think there's probably quite a lot of us about, like they sometimes flatter to deceive. They don't always do what you kind of think that they should do necessarily. However, I do sort of feel like in the last 5 or 6 weeks, probably since the Ulster final, they have really started to stumble on something. I think what you're seeing is Conley Gilligan's influence. I know, talking to some of the Kilcoo boys, like, and obviously Down played Armagh in Ulster, and they would tell you that his imprint is all over the way Armagh are playing at the minute, certainly defensively. You're seeing a much. I know they had kind of gone for this zonal approach a bit last year, but it's much more effective now. I mean, they now have one of the most effective defences in the country, which was always Armagh's Achilles heel. Like, that was certainly this Armagh's Achilles heel. The talk about Armagh in the guts of the last decade has always been about this, all the stars, all the attacking stars that they had, but my God, they could concede whatever. Well, that's definitely not the case anymore. The flip side of that is it has had an obvious knock-on effect on maybe what made us all love Armagh in the first place to a degree. That kind of playing with a bit of abandon, the kicking style. They still do mix and match, but I think what you're going to see against Kerry is probably very similar to what we saw in the Derry game. I don't expect that Armagh are going to come out and radically alter the way that they have been going about things. I don't think Kerry are going to be coming out wanting to leave any kinds of gaps, knowing that really Armagh, where they are and the confidence that they have compared to where Derry were. There was a couple of weeks ago, there was always a sense with Derry probably that they were not so much trying to hang in there, but there was definitely an element of that, that they wanted to be in the game, probably getting into the last 10 minutes sort of thing. There's probably a bit more of a feeling, a bit more of a fear of Armagh and what Armagh can do to Kerry. But I think you're going to see another attritional defensive, could be ugly enough. I'd love to see it cut open, but I just have a feeling it's not going to go that way, because I just think Armagh will try and
There's
will,
too
will
much
try
at
and
stake.
set in, and they have more attacking weapons. Not even that they have more attacking weapons than Donegal, but they have more attacking weapons who are playing with confidence, they have more belief, and obviously maybe more faith in their manager than Derry had, and what they were being told. So whenever you look through through that Armagh team, there's no doubt about it. Like right from right back to Barry McCambridge there, who's come in the last month and really been fantastic. Adds another dimension to them coming forward. Aidan Forker always has scores, and then Tiernan Kelly. Right from sort of 5 up, there's every one of them poses a threat in the road, possibly with the exception of Joe McElroy to a degree, like who has kind of become the go-to guy for snuffing out the opposition danger man in a lot of cases. But everybody else really needs watching. So I would suspect that we're in for similar-ish sort of fare to what we got in Croke Park a few weeks ago.
Do you agree with that, John? It's interesting now, the point of Conley Gilligan. You look at Geezer in there, with Donaghy in, with McKeever in there. You look at Ger Brennan the last day, like some Moyna, James McCartan, and this huge squads that's building up with all this experience, and you wonder then who's maybe directing it. Is there somebody there? And then, as Neil saying, it's very interesting that the Kilcoo boys saying they can see imprints of Conor Gilligan in there. Is that what you need? Is that what teams need, particularly McGuinness being there 10 years? Do they need something extra, and that person can come in, just can be that small difference?
Yeah, well, the game as it stands right now is a game of small margins. Anything that can get you across the line or change the mentality within the setup. And obviously Armagh have been tweaking, and in lots of people's eyes they've probably underachieved over the last couple of years, and they haven't got the silverware that maybe they deserved. But ultimately, if you look at it from an Armagh perspective, they could be very much sitting in exactly the same position as Donegal are right now. They were the kick of a ball away from winning an Ulster title, and then we'd be having these conversations about Armagh. I actually like the way Armagh is shaping up this year, and I like the way they bounce back from the Ulster final, because it had been very easy with all the negativity being thrown towards Geezer and the team and everything else for them to crawl into a shell and disappear and drift out of the championship. And they knuckled down and went at it. And I suppose when you're talking about influences and all the Ulster teams doing so well this year, if you even look at the Ulster influence from a Tyrone perspective in Kerry and the way they're playing, and I grew up watching Kerry and the flamboyancy of Kerry and the way they play the game. They've completely converted the way that they look at the game. They're a much more structured, organised and somewhat cynical side than they were maybe 20 years ago. And that's the influence. I'm not going to say it's a Tyrone influence, but they're much more pragmatic. It's about winning games. I don't, and I said this a number of weeks ago when we were talking about, somebody said that Dublin and Kerry were ahead of everybody else. I didn't buy into it then, and I've been proven right with the Dublin result, and I don't buy into it now. I don't personally think this is a good Kerry team. I think Armagh can get at them. I think Kerry are very one-dimensional. They're very reliant on one or two of their big stars. If they're shut down, they're under serious pressure. And Derry shut them down for 50 minutes of the game. And let's be under no illusion, Derry weren't going well. Derry were there in a wing and a prayer and a hope. Like they're not coming with this Armagh belief, this Armagh structure. And Armagh have been grinding out results consistently over the last 8, 9, 10 weeks. Were unlucky in an Ulster final, and even showed resilience against Galway, because as Jazz said earlier on, Galway had Armagh beat. They were gone, and the game flicked very quickly, and then they had the tenacity and resilience to bounce back into it. So I agree. I think it'll be a dour affair. I think Kerry will be pragmatic. They'll mind the house. They'll not want to get caught. Semi-finals are about winning. It doesn't matter how you win them. It's about getting there. But I don't think that Kerry are going to have it as easy as they had against Derry. And I would not be at all surprised if we're sitting here on Sunday evening talking about Armagh being in the final, and with a little bit of luck Donegal in the final, and sure, wouldn't that be a great conversation?
Neil, we're not selling this semi-final too well, because after Clare and Kilkenny at the weekend, we're afraid of small crowds at Croke Park. But listen, you that's how it's looking, and you just mentioned there, Johnson, but you shutting people down. Obviously last night, Donny Smith and Smith and Mert and boys that Roscommon had to have big games. Armagh did shut them down. Now, I think the Kerry forward line is a lot better, but that said, Clifford and Sean O'Shea haven't been playing well. The scores have been coming all around the pitch, but maybe that'll suit Kerry, the fact that they have scores all around the pitch in terms of those lads inside not hitting the heights. And more than we were just chatting earlier about Walsh, should Sean O'Shea or Clifford click, they are unbelievable talents. So that's, I suppose, a wee bit of a warning in the background for Armagh.
It is, but like you touched on the Roscommon game there, and I think again, without wanting to kind of harp on too much about Armagh's defence here, but after the Roscommon game or during the Roscommon game, a lot of people were a lot was made of the wide count that Roscommon racked up, particularly early on. But if you look back at that, like a lot of that owed to the way that to the decisions that Armagh make you make, if you know what I mean, like, and where they make you shoot from. I remember a similar narrative coming out, whenever Armagh beat Cavan in Ulster last year. I think Cavan hit something like 23 wides. A lot of them were from really stupid angles, just a team that had run out of ideas and was frustrated, and you could see that with Roscommon the last day as well. And I think that's something that Kerry, as you said, that's where having scores from the less kind of traditional, less expected angles is maybe going to stand to them, because last day, I mean, against Derry, Clifford, Chrissy McKay, only one ball went into Clifford. You have to remember that, like, one ball, and albeit he won it above two Derry men, but like that shows and Jack, I was in the press conference afterwards when Jack O'Connor was asked about the pragmatic approach that Kerry had, and Jack's history with Ulster football and dealing with pragmatism with perceived, I suppose, Ulster pragmatism goes back a couple of decades now, to those famous battles with Harte's Tyrone, and the fact that the acknowledgement that they had to change the way that they were going, and he again admitted as much in the wake of the Derry match. Like, he was questioned about why the ball only went in once to Clifford, like, and he was like, but even when it did go into him, he had to win a ball above two men to actually win it. But the point that the Kerry journalists were making was, yeah, but he won it. Put it into him.
Yeah.
So there's still a bit of a bit of a grapple there down the kingdom about just how Kerry are playing. I'm inclined to agree with what was said there. Like, I don't look at this Kerry team and think it's a great team by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're there to be beaten. Like, Paul Geaney did okay against Conor McCluskey last day. Doesn't offer a whole lot. Like, Tony Brosnan was dangerous enough. But you kind of look through this Armagh team and you see relatively good matchups for some of those guys. Even, I mean, I don't know who's going to look after Clifford, whether it be Aaron Mackay or whatever. But because of the zonal approach that they're going to take, it's going to be, they'll be looking to kind of shut Kerry down right across that kind of forward division. So I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see, because you don't. I came away from that Derry quarter-final absolutely thinking, that is a Kerry team that is there to be beaten. In Armagh, when you look at it, like, they have the tools to do it. It's just whether now they can carry on the momentum that they have built since the Ulster final to see that job through.
I suppose that's a dangerous thing, maybe, Pauric. Just, you think in a tactical warfare, I think Grimley and Creeley at midfield now allowing Rain to maybe play could be enough in that tactical warfare to allow Armagh to expose Kerry.
I think Armagh have a great opportunity here. I think the crowd is going to come down from Armagh as well. Kerry don't travel too well for semi-finals in that, Brendan, so it's going to be an interesting one. Is it going to be similar to the Derry game?
Poor Crow Park's getting hit hard here in the budget. Won't have to give the tickets away for a $5 or something, John. What do you think?
We'll settle for a very turgid, drab Armagh victory, and on Saturday night, and a classic on Sunday with Donegal coming out on top, and then God knows we'll have to
22-25.
We'll have to figure out how we're going to sell tickets for the final of Donegal or Armagh, because there'll be no neutrals going to that either.
Thanks very much, Neil. We're going to have to, like Wimbledon, we'll have to shut the roof in Crow Park maybe around the lower tiers to make an atmosphere maybe. But listen, what we'll do is we'll go up and enjoy it. Anyway, Neil, good luck to Down the
Absolutely.
final. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Good luck, man. Good luck.
Top man, Neil Loughran of Irish News, John Gildea, Pauric, Hilferty, Jeff Fallon, and of course Aishin Kelly for producing. Thanks so much, everybody contributed to the show this evening.
Hang on, Lawrence is just saying 25% off all cars tomorrow morning.
Rental cars, great
man, Lawrence.
You could hear a bit of screeching on the mountain top, as us say, taking a few test drives. But listen, thanks for everybody here at Highland Motors. Whatever, we'll speak to you all next week as we prepare for for the All-Ireland football final.
You're right, big man.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
At 8, good evening, I'm Tina Gates. Aer Lingus is to accept the Labour Court recommendation